Welcome to the MMI Unlocked podcast, where our story, our people, and our legacy come together. I'm Kim Farmer, and here we share the stories, lessons, and grit from where we started to where we're headed as we build toward our 20th year.
All right, so thank you guys for joining us for episode 4 of MMI Unlock podcast, sponsored by RealPage. Today, as you can see, we have our fearless leader, President Kim Farmer. Kim?
Yep.
Welcome to the show. First
Thank
time.
you.
So, how's everything going?
Going good.
Good.
Glad to be here.
Good. I know everybody out there is excited to see you. So we have a couple questions. We're going to kind of walk through, maybe give a glimpse into where MMI kind of all started. So,
Okay.
Start with first question. What is your story and background to how you began in property management and then later, obviously, starting at MMI?
Okay. So in 1997, I was hired into the Mitchell Company as an accounting bookkeeper clerk, and that was fine and dandy for me for about a year.
Accounting side.
Accounting, yes, my background is accounting, and I was pretty good at what I did. I did cash management over there for the property management group.
Yeah.
But it was too boring. Don't tell our folks up there upstairs, but I needed more. I've always needed more in my job, and so I decided to make the move over to property management, where I was a secretary to all of the regionals. And then, I was picking up on
I
stuff.
did not know that.
Yeah, man, I was a
So all the
secretary.
regionals had a secretary, or you were just
No,
one
I was
secretary?
like for all of them.
Oh,
Yes, I would.
okay.
This is back when we had to mail owner letter packages out. We didn't have the email system like we do now.
Right.
And that was one of my primary jobs. I would have to load up the envelopes with all of these owner letter packages and mail them out once a month. Answer the phones, take all of the complaints, and then I decided why am I doing this? And
Yeah.
then wanted to go into the regional side of things. Funny story, I was there was a position available. I was overlooked for it, and
By somebody who worked in the company, or they hired from the outside?
no, it was somebody that worked in the company, but she was kind of like me. She was out of sight and came up there to help out.
Okay.
I had just come back off maternity leave with my twins, Megan and Justin, and the person that was doing the hiring said that she had given the job to somebody else, and that she thought that she was doing me a favor because I had twin babies, infants. And I told her, well, she walked up on me. I was typing my resignation. I was so pissed, bad. But I was typing my resignation, and I said, well, you don't get to make that choice for me. And this lady ended up really being one of my mentors. And
Wow.
It was funny because maybe within a week time, somebody else resigned, and I went into the position, and I never looked back. So that was where it all got started with me in property management.
Wow. So that's interesting. So you went from accounting to secretary to just looking for an opening because you knew you wanted to be obviously out on site and
Yes.
doing more and having that responsibility. What were those regions like at that point with Mitchell? Was it?
It was it's very similar to what it is now, and I don't want to say that there's always one good portfolio, but there's always one good portfolio when it comes to regionals. I think now we have more than one in our company. We have a couple of portfolios that are good, but you have your affordable stuff, and we had one person that was over all the affordable. And then we had maybe 5 different regionals that were out there, but very, very similar to the way that it's run today in our
Okay.
company.
Okay. And how many properties did you have at that time for that first role? You remember?
30?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wait, no, total in management, under management was 30.
But for your portfolio when you were first regional?
I don't know, 5 to 7.
Okay.
All very local. I had Pensacola as well. Had some nice stuff over there, and then I had some stuff in the Mobile area. So
Okay. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. So, and I know some people that have heard about the story of how Pat started the MMI side from Mitchell. But when that happened, what was it that you said yes to Pat? Say, look, yes, I'm going to come over. Or how was that that transition from when he purchased it from Mitchell Company?
by the time that we got to that point, Pat and I have become allies. We worked together on a project in Jackson. Kind of got shoved into that mode, and we traveled a lot to Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah, we had a lot of distressed properties, to say the least, in that area, and so we got to know each other pretty well. So I kind of knew the whole time as things progressed
Okay.
about the company being potentially put up for sale, and then Pat going, "I'll buy it." But when it come to that Pat was like, "Yeah, it's a done deal," it was never really a question for me because
Okay.
I knew what Pat stood for. I knew his vision. I understood his vision. I knew what the future looked like with him.
Right.
And if Mitchell Company didn't want to be in the property management business anymore, then there was really no future with them. And I guess I could have moved back to accounting, but again, that was boring to me. I needed more. And I was young enough at that point that if it was not successful, then I could have went, to another management company, which I was offered to do at some point. That's a different story for a different time.
That might be episode 5 or 6.
Yeah, but the move with Pat, and I felt like that it was Pat and I that really spun off. Even though we took a lot of folks with us, they were primarily field folks.
Okay. So did anybody, I guess, have a choice? So how did the corporate office look? Did y'all like take some of the accounting people, or did y'all have to day one start hiring?
Yeah, no, we
For-
didn't. There was no accounting folks at Mitchell Company that came with us. We had already kind of set in motion some of the folks that we hired.
Okay.
So they were kind of waiting in the wings for us. And then there were some people that worked in property management at Mitchell Company that came with us.
Okay.
There was, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us that started the company. And I think at some point you'll see some pictures of those folks.
Yeah.
Those were the core people that was in the corporate office. None of us knew what we were doing. But we worked hard to try to.
Because y'all had to do a new system. Y'all didn't use the same property management system that Mitchell was using, so y'all converted that. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, so what were some, now kind of switching gears to just MMI, in the 20 years that this company has been here, what were some of the biggest challenges MMI has faced in your eyes?
So I think that the biggest challenge is still in existence today, which is employees. Employees, they're always it's always an issue because now where we're at is who fits into our mold. Because I think that Multifamily Management Inc. has a mold, has a culture, and some people fit and some people don't. And you have to appreciate the culture to be successful within that culture. So finding the right people, the right fit, the right personality, the right drive in folks is what we're looking for still today.
Yeah, it is a big challenge.
Yeah, that is probably the biggest thing. It existed back then, and it'll exist 20 years out in the future. I'm sure it'll always be a problem, not just with multifamily management, but with most companies. But one of the other challenges, I guess, that comes to mind, that something that happened was we were attacked by a vendor that was a part of worked primarily for a big ownership group that ended up busting, and they came to us looking for their payment, and they were owed a lot of money. And if we would have had to pay that money, then we would have went belly up. And when it finally got settled in the end, I'll never forget, we were at a conference in New Orleans, and we were sitting at the Bourbon Orleans Hotel in the lobby when Pat got the phone call that it had been settled, and the relief that came off of he and I both when we got that phone call.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it was like, let's go have a drink because, it was huge. It was huge.
Yeah. It was that the staffing company?
Yeah, and it was
okay.
BAM. Yeah.
All right. So, and thinking kind of through that, what were some of the biggest accomplishments that MMI has seen over the years? Because we've scaled up. I know initially, and hearing the stories from you and Pat, started out around that 3,500, 3,000 units, and we've scaled up really big with BAM. But without like just unit size, what were some of those biggest accomplishments that you've seen?
I think that the biggest accomplishment that we have been able to create for ourselves and as an opportunity for our company is that we have built some relationships with owners, repeat customers. We have a fantastic ownership base right now, and I can personally call some of these people my friend. They're good people. They understand our vision as a company, and I think that I mean we've been through the ringer on some ownership positions with different people that we've managed for. And I think that now we even have some people that circling back around trying to get back in. But I think that I think in my mind, relationships are the greatest thing you can have in a company.
Yeah.
And you got to draw the line if you're in a supervisor's position to understand that there's a friendship and then there's also a business working relationship, and people that you supervise, they have to understand that. I mean, you understand that when it comes to you and I will get you if I need to get you.
Yes, you do.
And I will praise you and then I will share personal stuff with you,
Right.
Of life stories. So to me, that's important, and I think it's important because I think that it shows who a person is, and I think that our owners, in the end, they want something that's genuine. Yeah. They want the bottom line. They want cash flow, but they also they want to know that you're doing them right, and you're doing them right because you're genuine, and you're working for them. You're working for each owner has their own perspective of what they want and goals of how maybe they're a long-term holder, maybe they're a short-term holder. And you have to manage to those folks. And I would put that out there for the regionals. The regionals need to understand that. You have to manage to what your owner wants.
And they're different personalities.
Yes.
I mean, I remember stories that you've shared before of just site staff, whether it's a manager or a regional, just not getting along with the
yeah, we've had to
ownership,
change a lot of
change it up,
times.
move it around.
That's right.
And so
and it's nothing against a regional. It's just the understanding that you have an owner. We still have an owner today that kind of likes to get a little irate, and he's precious. I love him to death. He and we kind of see eye to eye. I understand him, but not everybody can be in sync with him.
Yeah, and mesh
so
with it.
Yeah.
I want to touch on one thing that you mentioned on the previous questions about employees fitting in with our culture. When do you think that really, when y'all broke away from Mitchell and started MMI with you and Pat, when did the culture take shape for y'all in your eyes? If you had to kind of think back to that, because obviously it was, you're building it and stuff is going in and out. But when did it really take?
I think that for me, I can remember a moment back in maybe I'm going to say 2008, and I could be way off the chart with that. But we had the same ownership group that we were talking about earlier that we were attacked from one of their vendors, that we had an opportunity to take over a bunch of properties for them. But it was a quick turnaround. It was kind of like they called on Wednesday and wanted us on site on Friday. And this wasn't stuff in our backyard. This was not like Mobile, Alabama stuff. This was stuff along the East Coast. And they wanted to know if we wanted it. Well, we were hungry, and I wasn't going to say, no, we can't do this. I sent out an email to folks, to the company, and I said, we need volunteers to hit these areas. I don't remember how many properties it was. I want to say it was like 15. It was a lot. Who wants to go out here and set these, get them converted to our system, get the employees on our payroll? Who wants to be a part of this? And the people that responded to that email, that I think that's when it occurred to me that that's what it takes to be successful, is that you've got to have that in a company, people that want more and that they want to be a part of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was early on. I mean, for 2006 and 2007 when we spun off, it was a bust because it took us forever to get the books set up. It was no fun. It was tough.
That makes sense, because that grit of because I do think part of our culture, for what I've seen since I've been here, it's like we don't operate with titles. It's like, this is the mission.
That's right.
Who wants to help out? Who wants to just put their hands in and just be like, hey, I'll help out. I might not have the expertise. It might not be my job title. It might not be what I'm used to, but if you need a body, I'll learn and help out. And so that's interesting that kind of started from that side of it.
And we still operate like that today. If we have a mission, we're going to call on our folks, and there's always people out there that's willing to do the job.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that you really want to look at and go, okay, we can build a company around those people.
Yeah, just like you did going from secretary to regional.
Yeah.
So it's good. So still talking with employees. So over the years, we've had a ton of employees. A lot of people who've come, moved on to other things, kind of going back to what you were saying on just not maybe a good fit. They had the talent, they had some of the knowledge, just not a culture fit for us. But what comes to mind as special memories when it relates to the employees of the company?
Now, you know that I could sit here and talk forever about this, but I think that there's one thing that stands out with me that I will never forget, and I'm going to have to, and hopefully he's watching or he can watch this podcast
Hopefully he does.
and appreciate it. But it was the same kind of mission. We had a mission. We had to go to Summerville, South Carolina, to take care of a property. I think this was a property that Pat owned, that was under a lot of pressure and just needed some focus. So we had a team of folks. There was 4 of us that went up there, and we were there for I don't know 6 weeks, but we decided to go to the grocery store and get some groceries. There was 4 of us living in this apartment, and it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Anyway, we go to the grocery store, and I don't even know where these damn phone books came from, but there was a bunch of phone books in the back of Guy Gaines of his car that he took out of his car and put into a grocery basket. We were at the grocery store in the parking lot, and the ladies went inside, and he's out there. And we came outside, and all these phone books are in these grocery carts in in the parking lot. Yeah, that will always be like at the top of my list.
Didn't y'all drive was that the same trip that y'all drove up there?
Yeah.
And Guy drove?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That was hysterical. We needed room for the groceries, and like again, I don't know where these phone books came from. Maybe it was something that he was given for his
Collector's
property in New Orleans, and he didn't distribute them, and and we left because when we left, it was kind of like got to go.
yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, it's just memories with the folks.
Yeah. Well, those count too. And just like when you're out there, you're in the grind, having those memories really kind of takes hold to like, I mean, we work hard, we play hard too, but you gotta enjoy what you do. You gotta enjoy the people that you're around.
Yeah.
Or it just makes it kind of
It's a job
useless.
otherwise, and
Yeah.
you don't want it to be a job. And there's so many different times that we've helped people in our company that's been under some financial pressure or didn't have vehicles or whatever, that we've done fundraisers for them to help them get back on their feet. And I would only hope that those people remember those times that the company came to their rescue.
Yeah, I remember that one that we did down in Park Fontaine. That was
We did another one in Biloxi.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Okay, so think back to when you started out.
Okay.
And if there is somebody, we have a lot of people, we've hired a lot of new people over the past year, over the past 2 years, 3 years that are just starting, fresh leasing agents or fresh maintenance techs, even new regionals that we have. What would you tell somebody just starting out in property management as something to really focus on?
I can only share what was shared with me, and I think that it's sound advice, and either you're going to get it or you're not going to get it, but it's hearts and minds. And you have to have the hearts and minds of the people, or you have nothing, which means that the people are going to believe in you, and if they believe in you, they're going to follow you, and they're going to want to be by your side on these missions. They're going to want to jump to the rescue whenever there's turmoil going on. And so hearts and minds, and no matter what position you're in, I think that you can always look at that and appreciate that. I just had that conversation this morning with my son. It's hearts and minds, and you need to understand, really, really understand that. And Pat shared that with me a long time ago, and I know it's hard to believe, but I was a rebel. And firing people has never been a problem for me because I was taught at a very young age that I didn't fire you, you fired yourself, I didn't do anything wrong, you did. And it's never been an issue for me to go in there and fire somebody. And that hearts and minds that's part of it. You've got to have the respect of the people, or you have nothing. No matter what position you're in, you need to understand that. And sometimes it's better to just sit back and be quiet And like again, another thing that I said was, mystery brings respect. You don't go blabbing your business off to everybody. Keep it to yourself. And let that mystery understand.
Yeah.
Mystery brings respect.
That's interesting. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I hope y'all are writing that down. That's a good one. All right, so take it all the way back. Not that we live in regret or we live in the past, but there is something, as you guys built this business, you built the company, that if you had a do-over. So if you could go back to kind of maybe day one or the first year that MMI operated, what's maybe one or a couple of things that you may have changed because you've learned now that you're like, man, we probably could have done this or done that.
Yeah, nothing. There's not one thing that I would I would change, because I think that from the beginning, we were learning. Pat used to make fun of us and say we're not qualified to do the jobs we're doing, and he was so right. But we were doing them, and we were being successful at doing. We've never had a year where we didn't make money. And those people back there, those young folks that spun off in 2006, that's who we are today. That's what's made this company today. All of those experiences, all of those trials and tribulations that we've been through since 2006 has made us strong and viable, and it's made us into the management company that we are today. We are a known, reckoned management company. So there's not one thing that I would change, because it's just those experiences, that's who we are.
Yeah, and that's something too that if you didn't experience, even if it was a negative thing, it still made you where we're at.
You lived and you learned. As long as what Pat says, you make have the wrong answer, the right answer, or no answer at all. Well, we always had an answer. That was never a problem. It may not have been the right one, but we were smart enough to back up and regroup.
Right.
So we lived and learned from our experiences.
Yeah, and that's something, you've always told me through the years. It's like, look, making a decision is important because there's not much that we can't unwind.
That's right.
To fix. Now, obviously, there are some things that you can't do, but when it comes to property management, you can usually fix it. It might take a little bit longer, but make the decision, learn from the decision, and kind of grow from it.
Yeah, don't be afraid. No. Don't be afraid. You'll never be damned for making a decision in this company, even if it's wrong, just as long as you learn from it.
Well, good. Well, Kim, thank you for coming on. I know everybody's going to be excited to see this. And that concludes this episode of the podcast. Thank you, guys.